welcome to the Breakfast Show on Faith FM. This is the best place to start your day with positive and uplifting thoughts. You're listening across Australia on 87.6, 87.8 or 88, depending on where you are. You can also listen to us through our Faith FM app over the internet. Today, if you're listening live, is Thursday, the 15th of January. And my name is Skafy, and I'm in the studio today with producer Shell, who's not producing today. She's sitting with me as my co-host. Good morning to you, Shell.
Yeah, wonderful to be here on this side, sitting in the fancier, more spoiled chair, I'm just going to say.
Yeah. And so if you're not producing, who is producing?
We got Sandy today joining us.
Sandy, good morning to you. Producer Sandy, it's great to have you with us this morning. I actually want to start the show, as we often do, with a word of gratitude. Do you know what I'm grateful for today?
What are you grateful for?
I'm grateful for a string of things. Number one, I am grateful for friends that are chefs. Number two, I'm grateful for when these friends cook for you.
You did that already this week.
I know, but hey, I am grateful when these friends that are chefs that can cook for you, they cook with Sichuan peppercorns.
Okay.
Now
I used to have a peppercorn tree in my yard.
Oh, really? But not the Sichuan peppercorn. The Sichuan peppercorn is actually not a pepper, even though it looks like a pepper. It's from the citrus family, and it does something really interesting. Do you know what happens when you put some citrus peppercorn in your tongue? It has a substance, and it releases some electric shocks in your tongue, and your mouth goes numb. Have you ever tried it, Sandy?
No, not gonna.
It is very
give it a miss.
But when you cook with them, they don't numb your tongue, and on the contrary, they have this amazing flavor, very frank, very different from everything. And I would not have known this peppercorn that God has created so amazingly if it wasn't for my chef friends that are always investigating and figuring out and discovering new ingredients.
Oh, fantastic. That is wonderful. Do you want to know what I'm thankful for?
No. What?
I am thankful for secret blessings.
Secret blessings. Okay, tell me more.
A wonderful news has just been presented to me that I'm very, very excited about, but I can't share. Family news, I just am very, very happy about.
Ooh, normally, like Sandy looked at me with, I think I know what she's talking about. I think I know. It's like coming to your family, like, writing to my family group on WhatsApp and say, hey, Mom, we've got news.
Yeah.
And Mom says, news? Like, is that a baby coming on board? And normally
that's always where you go first, isn't it?
I said, no, Mom, I've already done the snip. I cannot have kids anymore. You know this. It's something else. But I like to see her reaction anyhow. So that's cool. Secret blessing. It's nice. Yeah. So a blessing, but it's not out in the public yet.
That's right.
But you get to enjoy it firsthand. It's new and fresh to me, and
I'm very, very excited about
Fantastic. How good is that? Well, I have a secret blessing for you. Secret blessing is we have a great show ahead of us today.
What's coming up?
Well, coming up, we have how to ensure that you get a blessing from God. This is going to be in our More Like Kim segment. We're going to learn that straight from the patriarch Jacob. Number two, we're going to be talking about Donald Trump. He promised that he is going to cap interest rates for credit cards in America at 10%.
Oh.
Is this going to be a good thing?
Could be good.
Is this going to be like a whack-a-mole game where people will find ways around it? Well, we'll see. But most importantly, we'll see what the Bible has to say about lending money with interest. And we're also going to have John Ashton with us. He's going to be talking to us about a very special place in Tasmania, Sandfly, and why it is so special from a creation perspective. You will find out.
You're listening to the Breakfast Show podcast on Faith FM. Positively different.
I'm here in the studio with producer Shell and with producer Sandy today. And Shell is with me co-hosting today. So it's great to have you, Shell.
Yeah, I'm
it's
sitting
been a
on
while.
the wrong side of the glass. It feels weird.
Right. Okay, very good. I think I would say that you're sitting on the right side of the glass.
Yeah,
but
I know you would, but I mean, producing's where it's at.
Very good. I'm going to ask producer Sandy then to produce a quiz question for us. Please, Sandy.
Let's go. In the book of Luke, what happens in the chapter immediately after Jesus says it is easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to enter the kingdom of God? Multiple choice. What happens in the chapter immediately after Jesus saying it's easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle? Option A, the rich young ruler story. Option B, Zacchaeus' conversion. Option C, the parable of the lost sheep. Or option D, paying taxes to Caesar. Which happened straight after Jesus talking about the rich man going through the eye of a needle?
Look, I know exactly what happens straight before that.
So what happens after?
Okay.
0491064669. Skafy's thinking.
Can you tell me the chapter?
Play, but I know the answers.
You know the answer. Can you tell me the chapter again? That's is in the book of Matthew or in the book of Luke?
It's in the book of Luke. Mm-hmm. In the book of Luke, chapters 18 and 19. So the options.
So we know what's in 18. We want to know what's in 19.
Yes.
I know what it is now. Okay.
So the options are A, the rich young ruler, B, Zacchaeus' conversion, C, the parable of the lost sheep, and D, paying taxes to Caesar. Skafy's on it. Good job.
Very good. I actually never really paid attention to the story that came immediately after that story, but I know what happens between chapter 18 and chapter 19. So that's how I got into it.
Yeah, good.
Had to zero in that way. Very good. If you do know the answer to that one, 0491-064-669. This is also the number to text if you want to get the birthday gift of a lifetime.
So many options.
Everything expertly curated by our master gift giver, producer Shao. She has curated everything. She spends hours and hours trying to find the right gift. And
nobody's taken the right gift yet, according to me. But that's right.
That's right. Well,
I'm like, my favorite one's in there,
there's
and your
one
favorite
gift,
one's in there. Neither of them have been taken yet.
Is your favorite one different from mine? Favorite one?
I think so. I think Wingspan is.
You'd be for the board game,
like, take Wingspan.
Yeah, I take Wingspan for granted because I have it already.
Yeah, I played a game of it last night with my son and daughter-in-law. It was so good.
By the way, Wingspan is a board game where you have to collect birds, or actually have to create habitats for birds too.
Yeah.
And you learn a lot about birds. It's actually it's a nature-based game, but it's a lot of fun. I am more of a time of quality person.
Yes, so you want to eat with people.
Yeah, so if you want to hang out with us, that can be one of your birthday gifts. But whatever.
If you get the game of Wingspan, I will come and play that with you, and we can have quality time too. So that's your other option. I'm sure Skafy's in on that one.
I'm happy to jump in. I will jump in as well. So no matter what rocks your boat or what floats your boat or whatever is your cup of tea, we got you covered. If you'd like to get an exquisite birthday gift, what do you have to do, Producer Shell?
All you have to do is be born in January, first off.
Yes, right.
Or else wait until your birthday month so that you can have your opportunity. But if your birthday is in January, just text us in the date of that, Jan such and such. You don't have to give us the year. We don't need to know that. But then you just text us to 0491-064-669. We will automatically put you in the draw. And let me tell you, January, for some reason, I don't know, maybe there wasn't very many people born in January. Because January last year was our lowest month, and so far it's pretty low this month. So if your birthday is in Jan, you have very high chances.
You do have very high chances.
So you might as well get in.
Yes. Yeah. Very good. Because if you turn back the dial 9 months from January, where do we ended up landing? About March?
Yeah, April, wouldn't it be?
April, March. So April is supposed to be the beginning of autumn. Maybe lots of parents were tired at that time of the year. They were not making many babies. I don't know what's the reason, but it looks like January is a little bit of a slow month for babies, at least as far as we can tell from our end. So that means it's good news for you if you were born in January, not only because you're special, but also because there is less competition for you.
That's right.
Right. So hurry up. We have these coming up. And we are going to get into our Bible study now. Producer Shao.
I'm excited.
I'm excited as well. Look,
it's a fantastic story that we're going to dig into.
It is a fantastic story. I think it's one of my all-time favorite Old Testament stories. And it has so many practical applications. We are going to be talking about some of them today. And just a reminder, this year we're following the Amazing Facts Bible Plan Bible in a year. So I am reading the Bible in a year, and I'm inviting you, listener, to read the Bible with me this year as well. The cool thing about it is that we are going to be reading the same chapters every day, and again, you get to talk about them. And if you happen to read a Bible passage from that chapter, from that week, that gives you the perplexities, it's okay. You can text us here, you can send us a message, and we can talk about it. So that's the fun of it. But we are reading through today in Genesis, the book of Genesis, chapter 32.
Okay.
And we are going to read here verses 24 to 26. There's some action going on, and we're going to pause, and we're going to explain how did Jacob find himself in this situation. So, Producer Shell, would you read for us, please? Genesis chapter 32. No, just from verse 24 to verse 27.
Sure thing. Then Jacob was left alone, and a man wrestled with him until the breaking of day. Now when he saw that he did not prevail against him, he touched the socket of his hip, and the socket of Jacob's hip was out of joint as he wrestled with him. And he said, "Let me go, for the day breaks." But he said, "I will not let you go unless you bless me." So he said to him, "What is your name?" He said, "Jacob." And he said, "Your name shall no longer be called Jacob, but Israel, for you have struggled with God and with men and have prevailed." Then Jacob asked, saying, "Tell me your name, I pray." And he said, "Why is it that you ask about my name?" And he blessed him there. So Jacob called the name of the place Peniel, for I have seen God face to face, and my life is preserved. Just as he crossed over Peniel, the sun rose on him, and he limped on his hip. Therefore, to this day, the children of Israel do not eat the muscle that shrank, which is on the hip socket, because he touched the socket of Jacob's hip in the muscle that shrank.
Okay, so let's pause here for a moment, and let's try to figure out what is going on here. Jacob is having a wrestling match. He's fighting jiu-jitsu with someone here.
Yeah.
And that someone is so powerful that he only as much as touches Jacob's thigh, and his thigh is dislocated, and the hip comes out of the socket.
Yeah, but then later it says it shrank.
Yes.
So, yeah, is that contradicting it, or is it the same thing? So
No.
the muscle shrank.
Yeah, look, I don't know if the muscle shrank. I think they're not necessarily, sometimes when the Bible is describing these things, there's not necessarily being super scientific, but it could have been that as a result of that encounter, Jacob would have developed
lost his
a lifelong
use of
limping.
it.
Yeah, or maybe he would be limping around.
Yeah, and when you're not using a muscle, it shrinks up. So
Yeah, it shrinks up. So the fact is, this person that he was fighting with throughout the night, how did Jacob even find himself in that situation? You know, who did he? Why would be? And he realized after the fact that, hey, I think that I've actually been wrestling with God himself, and man, I'm alive. I survived. Like, how did that happen? So let's backtrack this story a little bit. You know, just summarize to see how did Jacob get himself in that situation. What do you remember?
what brought him to this lowly
What brought
place?
to that first? So what do you remember? So yesterday we were talking about how Jacob had to escape, had to flee his house in a rush because his brother Esau was fuming through his nose.
And coming for him.
He has sworn that he was not going to rest until he would kill his brother. Because his brother not only took his birthright, he took his blessing, he supplanted, he deceived, and Jacob's mom was completely chilled about it. Rebecca, she said, "Oh, you know what? Your brother's just having a bit of a tantrum, having a bit of a hard day. You know, just go to my brother's house, your uncle, stay there a couple of days, take some breaks, take some holiday, go for your annual leave, you know, and after a couple of weeks, when everything is forgotten, I'll just, send to you, and you come back, and we'll continue living as a happy, beautiful family." The problem is, yes, that was 20 years ago when she said that. When she said that,
he's got 2 wives and several children later.
That's right, 2 wives, 2 concubines, several children later. What happened during that time? What do you remember from that story when Jacob went to spend his holidays with Uncle Laban?
He cried over a girl, and then he tried to marry her, and instead got her sister.
That's right. He was deceived himself
through trickery, and and so he had to work another 7 years for the woman who he wanted to marry. So 14 years of labor for Laban, and then he finally was able to have the wife that he wanted,
Yeah.
but she couldn't have children, and so he ended up taking concubines as well to try to help her and please her, and then the sister did the same thing. So there's got another. Yeah, it's just
That's
a big
right.
old mess.
A lot of family drama.
Yeah,
Yeah.
drama.
Have you look? Let's pause here because let's just unpack a couple of things here. So Jacob came to his uncle Laban, right, and he said, "Look, I want to marry Rachel." And Uncle Laban says, "Look, what can I give you? If you're like, you can work. Come work for me. Come work for me, my nephew. It's just like the old history of working for your rich uncle or for your family member." And they said, "Look, but you don't work for me for free. What would you like?" So look, can I work for 7 years, and then after 7 years, you will count that as the dowry for my wife? And he said, "Yeah, that's fine. All good." Because he was in love with Rachel. And the Bible says, there's one of the most beautiful Bible passages to me, which says that Jacob worked for many years, but for him, it looked as if it was only a few days because he was so in love.
Yeah.
And then, but, as you mentioned, during his wedding, everything was, when he was going to consummate the marriage, if you know what I mean, in the lady's chamber, it was all dark. He couldn't see. He slept with her, and when he woke up in the morning, he looked, and guess what? It was the sister, it wasn't the wife. So he was deceived. And when he came to his uncle to say, "Hey, what happened here?" He says, "Oh, it's not our tradition here in this country to marry the younger sister before the older sister. But if you're still interested in the other sister, which is the one that you originally wanted, you can work for 7 more years." The cool thing is, a lot of people, for some reason, they have in their mind, I do not know exactly why, but I learned when I was young, and I learned that story from someone. They said to me that they make it look like he worked another 7 years until he could get married to his beloved Rachel. But it's not the case.
He just promised he would. And so he was able to marry her straight away.
That's right. He married her straight away, like after 1 week. And then, so he got like a loan. Yeah. And then he paid it off after 7 years. And then that's 14 years. Then 6 more years, he was still working for Laban. But what happened is that this is the thing that a lot of people don't know. When we think about paying a dowry to marry someone in the Old Testament times, we think that you're kind of, people interpret that as you're buying the girl's hand. But what you are doing is actually not that at all. You're giving that money to the father. But the father has to give, usually the father would give that money back to the girl. Did you know that?
No,
Yeah.
I didn't. I don't think so.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the father would say, okay, so he received and that money, sometimes they would keep it in store, they will set it aside so that they can, the lady could use that in a case of emergency. But most of the time, the father would say, "Hey, daughter, here it is. This is for you. It's like a gift for you." So you kind of go from the husband's hands to the father's hand, and from the father back to the girl's hand. So much so that one of the complaints that both Rachel and Leah, the sisters, the daughters of Laban, Jacob's cousins, they had is that our father stole our money.
Yeah.
The money that belonged to us, which is the 7 years worth of work. Mm-hmm. So Laban was very greedy.
Yeah.
And
not a good guy.
No. And look, I'll tell you a truth here. I have had in my family always worked together in business. And the problem is when you are in a business partnership with your family member and you're not equally splitting things like 50-50, someone will always think that they're paying too much, and another person will always think that they're receiving too little. I do not know if you have had that experience in your family. Have you had anyone in your family working with maybe a parent or an uncle? Have they had that impression?
For sure. I think that I'm not sure that it's just stuck to a family. I think that can be in a lot of society situations. But yeah, for sure that has been the case.
But in other society situations, you keep your problems localized at your workplace. But when you're talking about family, you're visiting them in the weekends, and they're in the birthday parties and in Christmas.
It just makes me think about when my sister and I used to have to do chores together, and we'd have to go get firewood. And I was younger than her, 18 months younger. So she would load me up with firewood, and she would load me so heavy that I could barely see over the wood, and I'd be carrying it back, and then she'd come with two 2 logs, because she's like, well, I can't load myself up. This is all I can carry.
Well, there you go. This is working with your family in a nutshell.
Yeah, that's right.
So there was a lot of family dramas there. And at some point, it got unsustainable. The girls couldn't stand it. They couldn't live that situation anymore. Jacob was very resentful. And God came to Jacob and says, hey, Jacob, you know what? It's time to go back home.
Yeah.
God came to him in a dream. And Jacob said, look, he didn't want to go back home. He was tolerating all of that situation because he didn't really have anywhere to go. But now that God opened the door, he was in that difficult situation. He says, look, if I stay here, my life will be filled with sorrow and misery. But if I go back, my brother might kill me. So he was between the rock and a hard place.
Yeah.
But he said, you know what? If God is telling me that I have to go back, I'll have to go back. And plus, this situation here, it's so bad that he had to leave without even announcing to his uncle that he's leaving. The uncle came to him, gave him a hard time, saying, "Hey, what are you happy? Are you kidnapping my daughters and my grandkids now? What's going on?" But they finally, long story short, God ended up blessing Jacob. He multiplied his sheep. Even though Laban was not really big fond of that. And, they ended up saying, hey, you know what? Let's put the past in the past. I don't want to come and hurt you. You don't want to come and hurt me, but I have to move. And, God appeared even to Laban in a dream and says, hey, just let the boy go.
Yeah.
Don't harm him, because that was in his heart as well. So we are going to pick up the story of Jacob wrestling with the angel starts from here. Jacob is coming back and he's in agony. He doesn't know what's going to happen to him. He cannot come back. He has only one way forward. And in that way forward, he sees the biggest threat of his life. His brother coming up to him with an army of 400 people. What is going to happen?
You're listening to the Breakfast Show podcast on Faith FM. Positively different.
We're in our More Like Him Encounter section of our Bible, a More Like Him Bible study, where we are digging deep into the story of Jacob and wrestling the angel.
That's right, wrestling with the angel. And what I think that this story teaches, in a nutshell, is a very practical thing. How to ensure that you get a blessing from God when you pray. That's my key takeaway. But we're going to tell you exactly how.
Yeah, I'm
in a
looking
moment.
forward to getting there.
That's right. We're getting there. We're building up to there. You will learn exactly how it went. And look, there's a key here. If you the key word here is perseverance. Perseverance is the key word. But we are going to explain to you exactly how it works after we reveal the answer to the quiz question and serve you a new one. So, Producer Sandy.
The answer to our quiz question is Zacchaeus' conversion comes the chapter immediately after the camel going through the eye of a needle.
Okay. Wow.
That's right.
I never really connected these two dots.
I think it's super cool.
It is
It's super cool because he's talking about how hard it is for a rich person to make it into heaven, and then we get a story about a rich person who makes it into heaven.
Yeah.
So it just gives that balance.
It gives that balance. Yeah, I
Yeah.
love it. Because the rich young ruler is exactly the opposite story. It is the rich person who had everything to get into heaven, but you know what? He preferred his riches instead.
Yep. He walked away sadly.
And he did walk away sadly. Sandy, what is the new quiz question, please?
An easy one for our second quiz question. Terah was the father of which important leader in the Old Testament?
You said
Terah
it was easy.
was the father of which important leader in the Old Testament?
Terah was the father of which important leader? I have no idea.
0491064669.
Oh, well, how do you spell T-E-R-A-H?
Terah, yes.
Oh, okay.
Terah was the father of which important leader? Send us your answer to 0491064669. On it, Skafy. That's right.
Okay.
Good job.
Yeah.
Yeah, how do you pronounce it?
Terah. Yeah, but Terah, yeah. Okay.
Terah.
Because when you first said Terah, I was imagining T-I-R-R-A. It's like, man, who's that person? And then I realized, oh, this is not the person.
Pronunciations are interesting in the Bible, aren't they?
They are interesting, and they're very hard, particularly to the English language, because, you know, the way that we speak the sounds of vowels in English is very different from Hebrew and many other languages as well. So that's where there's some, some confusion. Very good. So let's get back here to our story, Producer Shell. So Jacob leaves. He leaves, but he has a plan. He wanted to, he knew that his brother was coming for him. So he decided to do something. Do you remember what was that something?
I don't.
He decided to send in waves or droves of presents to him.
Ah, yes.
To appease him. And he started to
Sorry,
send...
bro.
Yes.
Here's some stuff.
So he said, look, when my brother finds me, by the time that he finds me, he will have received so many sheep and goats and things that he would at least know that I'm coming in peace. And he sent his messengers with a very specific message to him. He says, look, your servant Jacob is coming, and your servant Jacob, is eager to meet you. And hey, by the way, he's, sending you thousands and thousands of dollars worth of gifts. However, Jacob wasn't sure if that is going to work or not. Maybe my brother is not going to be appeased with just me sending gifts. So maybe he will come after me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to split my family in 2 groups. So if he kills the one group, I still have half of my family left for me. I actually had an auntie, and every time that she would take an airplane flight to anywhere with her family, they would never fly in the same flight.
Really?
Yes, they would always split themselves between 2 flights. So she and one child...
In case the plane went down.
That's right. In case the plane went down, there would still be like half of the family left. You know what? From a risk management perspective, it is a very clever thing. From a practical perspective, when I fly with my family, we just fly all together. It's like, look, if the Lord calls us, he'll call all of us at the same time. Yep. And we're going to resurrect together. And, it's so nobody's going to be missing out on anyone. So,
yeah, but were they traveling with the kids, these 2 women?
No, in this case, my uncle and my auntie, they had two children.
Yeah.
And
they split the kids and themselves?
That's right. So the mom will fly with one
that
child.
is awkward.
The dad would fly with the other one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's what they've done. And look, today.
So then you would be sort of like, if I have to lose one of my children, which one will it be? I'll take this one with me.
That's right.
Yeah.
Maybe you should cast
terrible.
lots. Maybe you should cast lots as the children. Hey, kids, with whom would you like to travel? World leaders do this today. I mean, it is not uncommon for if you have the president of the United States and the Secretary of State, for example, flying somewhere, they're never going to be in the same airplane because, if something happens to one airplane,
you need someone to lead.
You need someone else to lead. Very good. So this is what Jacob is doing here. Say, hey, let me just say let me divide my family in 2 groups here because my brother, he doesn't know perhaps how many wives I have, how many kids. He sees that, and maybe if he attacks one family, well, then I'll be able to let the other know, hey, come back here. Let's go away. And Jacob himself went behind everyone else. Said, look, I'm going to be the last one. So between Jacob and Esau, there were hundreds of animals and dozens of people. And Jacob said, look, I'm going to be the last one just to see what happens. And during the night, as he was, I think, trying to get asleep, and I'm wondering if he could get any, he sees this figure coming next to him. And he gets startled. And I believe that in his mind, he thought, maybe this is my brother or one of his brother's men.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And he starts fighting them. And he realized that this fighting continues and goes on till the daybreak. And I think that I believe that at some point during this fight, Jacob realizes that he was not fighting any common man, but he was fighting a supernatural being. How he got to that conclusion, we're not told. But what we do know...
Probably because he was getting exhausted and the angel wasn't.
The angel wasn't, and he just said, look, it's getting to get daylight. Or he thought that, hey, man, this angel could have already, finished my life by a long time here, and he's not. It's kind of like, when you're playing wrestling with your child, with a young child.
Yeah.
And, they are like really exerting themselves.
And all you have to do is put your hand on their forehead and they can't get anywhere near you.
That's right. So Jacob saying, hey, this is very weird here. Like, this angel has like an infinite stamina. And at some point, he just said, look, I have to go. The daybreak is coming. And Jacob hold on to his, heel again. The same thing that pretty much he was doing. He was, metaphorically speaking, he was holding on to him. He was not letting him go. And he says, hey, let me go. He says, no, I'm not going to let you go until you bless me. And finally, the angel touches the hip, the socket of Jacob's hip. Jacob finally lets him go and says, okay, you're going to get your blessing. I am going to bless you. Now let me go. And he lets him go. So now Jacob is without a hip properly. His hip is out of socket, which would be very painful. But his heart is back into the socket because he now knows that he has the blessing of God, that God was with him. And he has the realization that he was fighting with none other than God himself, with the angel of the Lord.
Yeah, wow. It would just be so incredibly, I don't know, awe, I guess, is all you would just have. It's just awe because, I mean, here you were wrestling. And you could have been using that time so much better, really, with God.
But he was wrestling until his energies were all spent. But you know what? I believe that he finished that wrestle. Even though he lost from a physical perspective, he won in the spiritual sense. Mm-hmm. And not only he won the battle, but he also won a new name, which is very significant in the Bible. But the angel asked him, "What is your name?" And he said, "Oh, my name is Jacob." So, okay, you know what? I'm going to give you a new name. And your name now is Israel, because you were the man who fought with God, and you won.
Yeah.
You prevailed.
I think it just shows the character of God, because he was willing to go through that with Jacob, because Jacob needed that lesson. He needed to go through that wrestling experience to come out on the other side with understanding and clarity, and with his heart in the right place. Yeah. And he's willing to do that for us. And sometimes we go through these wrestling experiences as well, where things are just happening in our lives that don't make sense to us, and we're on these weird journeys or whatever. But sometimes those things have to happen for us to be able to come through it on the other side, refined and purified.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I have some experience with wrestling with God. I have shared some of them here on the radio. I remember one time I was seeing a therapist, a psychologist, and she was saying, you know, what would you like to share about it? I said, I know this happened in my life, this happened. And I was telling all of the crazy things that have happened in my life. And you know what, this psychologist, who she was not a Christian lady, by the way, even though she was very wise. You know what she said? She said, man, like, how come, like, I don't have anything to tell you. Like, all of your issues have been resolved. All that I can see is what we call post-traumatic growth, which is what you want. If you go through a trauma, you want to grow out of it. You're going to come out of that stronger. She said, look, it looks like all of your issues have been resolved. Like, how did you do that? And I said, look, if I tell you my secret, you know, would you like to know? She said, yes, look, I have worked all of this with the Lord. With God. And I did that through struggling. And I told her, look, some of the things that happened in my life were so hairy. And I would come out to start praying with God. And I like to pray as I walk. I do pray in my kneeling down. I do pray in all kinds of positions. I do pray when I'm driving, of course, with my eyes open. But my favorite way to talk to God is when I go out next to a beautiful place in nature and I go for a walk. Say, hey, God, let's talk here. I have a lot of things that I want to talk about and a lot of things that I want to hear from you. So I'm walking, and I remember in some of these instances, I was walking for 3, 4, 5 hours straight. And I said to God, what I learned with Jacob. I said, God, my head is so full of things. I am struggling to process it all. I am perplexed. I cannot even start understanding what I'm feeling, what is going on. But I'll tell you what, I'm not going to stop praying until you bless me. I'm not going to let you go until you bless me. And I think that God was going to, you know, have a bit of maybe a smile and have and say, hey, game on. Let's, you know, tell me what's going on here. And after these 4 hours, me asking questions and hearing back from the Holy Spirit and God asking me questions back and bringing to my remembrance Bible passages, Bible principles, He helped me to process everything in the right category so that after these 3, 4, 5, 6 hours sometimes of just walking, not only I probably lost a couple of kilos, but most importantly, I lost that black cloud that was hanging around my head, and I exchanged my worries, my anxiety, my problems for peace.
Amen. That's so good.
Isn't that good?
Yeah.
And I think that this can be everybody's experience. So when next time that you are struggling, that you are afraid of the future, particularly if you are struggling with anxiety, I want you to do this. Say to God, God, you know what? I'm going to pray to you. And I'm going to talk to you about my anxieties. And I'm going to ask you questions. And you stop that and start listening. Because when you ask God for direction, if you quiet yourself down, God is going to talk to you through your conscience. And he's going to point out Bible verses, Bible passages, Bible things, he's going to sometimes to ask you questions back. It takes a little bit of practice, not too much. Some of my friends that wanted to learn that, I go out with them, and maybe in 2-3 hours, they start to learn how to discern, to quiet down their own head voices and try to listen to the Holy Spirit and the thing that the Holy Spirit says. And I'm so proud when they come back up and say, hey, I think that God spoke to me, Skafy. And this is something that you can do. Go to God and say, God, I'm gonna stay here in prayer. I'm gonna pour my heart out to you. I'm gonna tell you exactly what I'm going on, and I'm going to be listening to you. The listening is the most important part, by the way.
Yeah. For sure.
The speaking part of God is just so that you can tell God what's going on, not because God doesn't know already.
Yeah, exactly.
Because he knows, but because it's how you're framing what happens it's what matters. And then listen back to God, listen to the questions that God is going to bring to your mind, the Bible passages that he's going to bring, but make this commitment to your heart. God, I'm not going to stop talking to you here until you bless me, until I can exchange my anxiety for peace. And I can tell you, Shell, I have been through some pretty crazy stuff in my life so far, and I'm pretty sure that I'm going to still go through some pretty crazy stuff, but God has never failed me, not even once. Sometimes it took me, as I mentioned, a few hours and a couple of kilograms, which is a positive side effect of praying with God. But I have never came back down. You can ask my wife. She looks at me and said, Joseph, I think that there is a bit of a black, do you have a little black cloud hovering over your head? I said, yes. And she says, what is the problem? And I said, look, I don't even know, but I know that I have to talk to the Lord, and he'll help me to figure out what is the problem and what is the answer to that problem.
Amen. And that's, I think, is what the whole story is in there for us to understand, that we can have that experience, and he has the patience to go through it with us and let us wrestle it out. And he's there for us to bring us through it to the other side. Sometimes we just don't understand, and we're never going to understand everything. No. But to be able to understand and love and learn his character and accept the fact that, we can trust his heart in everything. Yeah, that's where it's at.
And look, while I see a lot of value for people going through, counselors and psychologists and therapists, and particularly if they are good, if they have a Christian background, if you can, sometimes a bit hard to find, but there's a proper place and value for all of that. But nothing replaces spending time with God. God is the ultimate psychologist. He knows exactly what's going on. He always has the right answers. He's completely free and available 24/7. You cannot beat that.
Yeah, and we just want to remind you that you can get a ebook from us. If you text in hashtag Jacob, we will send you Patriarchs and Prophets, which goes through so many amazing things, but it really covers the story of Jacob and everything in great detail, and goes through this story as well in an amazing detail. So if you would like that, please text us in on 0491-064-669. And now we're going to have our quiz answer.
Yes, Bruce or Sandy, please.
The question, Terah, yes, was the father of which important leader? And that was Abraham. So we had correct answers coming in from Valmire and David. Good job, guys.
Yes.
Good job playing along.
Well, I'll tell you a little curiosity about that. I do not know if you know this. When God called Abraham to leave the land of Ur to go to the promised land, did you know that he took his father Terah with him?
Yes.
And
I remember that. I didn't know it. I just had to think through.
Yes. So not only he took his father, but then something happened. He stopped at in the middle of the way. They didn't go all the way through Canaan, through the land. They had to stop in the middle of the way, and that's where Terah wanted to stop and settle. He settled. He ended up dying there. So Abraham went all the way through. Terah, for some reason we do not know, he only went half of the journey through, and then he gave up for some reason.
Yeah.
And we can only speculate why, but I think that there's a lesson there. When God calls us to go somewhere, let's go all the way, not just stop part of the way. I think that sometimes we just stop part of the way, but God hasn't showed everything that he wants to show us yet if we do that.
Yeah, good thought. What's coming up in the show?
Coming up, President Donald Trump, he announced that he is going to cap credit card interest rates at 10% in America. They're currently sitting at between 20 and 30%. Is this a good thing? Is it going to be a bad thing? How is the market going to react to that? And most importantly, are there any spiritual lessons for that? We are going to learn that in our current affairs segment here coming up.
And also about safe streets.
Safe streets. And we're going to have an interview with Dr. John Ashton today about sandfly in Tasmania and why is it a very, very special place to uncover the origins of the creations of this planet.
Thanks for being a part of the Faith FM family. Join our community on Facebook or get in touch at 1-800-FAITH-FM.